my friends, and welcome back to another episode of MTD CNC. Today, I'm with my friend Andy, and he is with Blum, and he's been with Blum for the last 7 years. So we're gonna learn a little bit from him about how Blum supports the industry and how it can support us. So Andy, welcome to MTD.
Hey, thanks Tony, thanks for having me.
Absolutely a pleasure. So Andy, tell us a little bit more about your products and start from the very beginner level for someone who needs to learn and then move into a more expert level and share some of your newer products with us and technologies.
Sure, so what we have here right now is our big thing, where Blum came from, is our laser system. So our laser system is primarily going to be used for in-process checking, setting up your tools, checking to see if they're broken, length, radius, corner radius, all standard checks that you're going to want to know on your tool. All the way down to, like I said, in-process breakage checks of that tool as well. So outside of our laser system, that's pretty basic right there.
Sure, but before we move on, if you don't mind, Andy, and sometimes I like to engage in a product because I know we get into talking about stuff and we want to move on and move on. But let's talk a little bit about that. So this Blum product here, when I'm machining, if I believe my tool's starting to wear out, it's actually a check in the machine. It's not something I need to pull out and pop into an out-of-machine type of measuring device of some sort, right?
No, exactly. It's all in machine, programmed in the machine, so it's going to check it when you want to check it. So it's a breakage check. You're talking 3 seconds to wrap it over into the laser and back home and back to your cut before you go to your next tool.
But that 3 seconds gives us the confidence we need to move on to the next part, saying my tool is okay, or does the machine help make adjustments if there is some tool wear?
If you're looking for tool wear, we can do that as well.
Okay.
We can write offsets right back to that tool. So the next time you cut the part or want to recut the part, it's going to be correct.
Got you. I mean, I've known this product for a while. It's pretty inventive. So knowing that we started with this one is a great place to start. But what else do we have laying on this table that we can showcase to our audience out there?
So right now we have our whole spectrum of touch setters from our micro Z Pico system. It's actually just the Z Pico. So that little guy will measure down to about a 50 micron diameter tool. 50 micron in the US, what are we talking, 2000s?
Very small, yeah.
Very small. Length only. Now we have our standard Z Nano, which is, there again, length and breakage checks and length wear checks. This will handle your whole size of tools. Outside of that, we have our ZX Speed, length and radius checks, all on a mechanical side.
Okay.
All of these devices, minus the Pico, are offered in infrared and radio devices. So what we're seeing here is the ZX Speed IR, which is infrared, which will pair nicely with one of our probes if you're using it in the machine.
Okay.
So then behind that, we have our whole spectrum of probe systems. TC50 being our large body probe. TC52, our smaller body probe, smaller machine.
Okay.
So the Blum probe here, the larger one, we're going to do up to 3,000 meters or millimeters a minute, or 118 inches, one touch. So speed is impressive, and when you need to save cycle time, Tony, that's where we're going to go. The smaller body probe is 80 inches a minute, or 2,000 millimeters per minute, always one touch.
That is impressive, and even 80 inches a minute is fast.
It's, you know, when you get down to it, sometimes that last little 20 or 30 inches a minute doesn't matter.
Right.
Because at the time that you're hitting it, one touch at that feed rate,
right,
you got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, you know, I'm a bit more old school in the sense that before I started getting into sales a little bit, back in my programming days, I was still using paper. So
same here.
I understand how the probes work. I like how the probes work. I see how much time it saves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But paper was my last real programming style. How embarrassing that might be for the audience for me, but I love this technology because I just see the significance of what it could have done in my life.
Yeah, I mean, same here. That's where I came from. As being a journeyman tool and die maker in my past, we started with paper and gauge blocks.
That's right.
And
absolutely right.
Hours were spent with indicators, picking things up and setting up that tool carousel. And now you're talking minutes.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I don't know about you, but I would occasionally jog a little too quick or press the wrong feed on my jog and crack my end mill, and then there goes $100 right off the bat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you don't really even have to worry about that. I mean, even with the mechanical touch setters, if you're off a little bit, or you don't even know the length of your tool, it's got enough deflection in it, it's built in, and the laser obviously is going to be forgiving.
And let me ask you, Andy, you mentioned a number when we talked about this small one. You said 50 micron.
Yes.
And that's on the length, correct?
That's on the diameter.
That's on the diameter. And what is it for the length? Is it
The length is unlimited.
unlimited?
That's whatever the machine can handle in length.
Okay, so what we're dealing with as far as diameter is because we don't want to break some of those smaller tools. So we're talking about more of the rigidity of the tooling itself.
Right.
Gotcha.
So smaller than 50 microns, you're talking a pretty small tool. It's not that common.
Yeah, and we're
But-
measuring the Z-axis here, right?
Correct.
And in doing so, how close to that exact tolerance are we measuring?
Oh, we're splitting microns for accuracy.
Splitting microns.
Yes.
Incredible.
For accuracy in the length.
Way better than my paper.
Yeah. Unfortunately, how we used to do things isn't as accurate as today, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So is there any other goodies or like new technology that you would like to share with the world now that we have their attention, they're paying attention to you?
No, I appreciate it. So outside of, I would say, our standard products that I have here, I believe right now we're the only ones out that offer a surface finish probe. We call it our RG probe.
Okay.
So we can come in process, drag a profile, actually drag the side of a part and measure and get the RA, RZ, RMax, all the way up to being on a contour right in the machine.
In the machine.
In the machine.
Now this
So-
is the new technology part, right? Is being able to do it in the machine.
Yeah, we've been doing it now for a couple of years, but it's in the machine. A lot of people don't know it yet.
I've heard a lot of people talking about how much more we can do inside the machine, all the types of measuring where we don't even, there's a lot of great work holding companies out there and automation companies out there that take a part without removing it from the vise and put it into a way to measure, right?
Right.
But at the same time, the machine still, the spindle's not running. So if we can do
Spindle's not
more inside the machine, this is where we're getting to with Blum.
Exactly. And what are you doing on the nights and the weekends when you don't have anyone there?
Right.
You need to know. So the RG is one. We also have our constant scanning or Digilog probes. So you can scan a profile and actually now freeform compare differences between parts.
Excellent.
The other big thing is going to be our bore gauge, which is going to give us sub-micron accuracy on the diameter of the bores.
Gotcha.
Real big. Can be used with some automated boring head systems out there.
Well, if I'm being fair, and I always play the role of Switzerland when it comes to machining, my job is to generate awareness and create excitement and hopefully reduce a skills gap in MTD, being a global leader in news.
Yeah.
But I'm always fair. And in that fairness, I see you guys everywhere.
Sure.
Every time I go to a trade show, if I'm checking out a machine, I see Blum all over the place, whether it be for any of these technologies in front of us right now or something a little bit different. But your name is familiar, your company is familiar, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep growing. We wish you all the success in the world, and if there's anything we can do to help, by all means, reach out. And thank you so much for being a part of MTD CNC and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Absolutely.